All right, let's dive right in. We've got a really interesting career path to explore today, one I bet you've probably never even considered.
I'd be surprised if you had.
Right. Our listeners send in a bunch of excerpts about becoming a centerapist. And let me tell you, digging through these RoleCatcher guides has been fascinating.
You're telling me most people hear law and they instantly picture the lawyers, the judges, all the drama of the courtroom.
Exactly.
But behind the scenes, making sure those legal transcripts are absolutely perfect are these unsung heroes called Scopists.
So basically, not a job for someone who gets bored easily. We're talking about documents that could literally make or break a case, right?
You hit the nail on the head. A Scopist, they're like, imagine a transcript ninja. They take the raw audio from the court reporter, which, and trust me on this one, can be insanely fast and full of jargon, and turn it into a polished legal document.
Wow.
Think, listening to medical terminology being fired at you at warp speed, and you have to get every single word right. That's the level of precision we're talking about.
Oh man, that's intense. One tiny slip-up could have massive consequences in court. So I'm guessing it's way more than just being good at grammar. You practically need to be a lawyer yourself.
100%. You need critical thinking, a solid understanding of the law, the whole shebang. It's all there in those career guides. It's no joke.
And all the legal terms you'd need to know.
Yeah.
So fascinating. It's almost like you could have a background in any field, medicine, tech, whatever, and use it as a scopist.
Absolutely.
Actually, I'm looking at the source material right now, and it lists a whole bunch of important skills. Things like active listening, reading comprehension, even being good with computers is in there.
Which makes total sense,
Yeah.
because a big part of the job is the technical side.
Oh, yeah.
Scopists use special software to edit and format those transcripts, and they're constantly researching legal jargon and past cases to make sure everything is accurate. It's like a blend of language skills and tech wizardry.
Okay, that's a combination I wasn't expecting. Sounds like being a scopist is less about the courtroom drama and more about the behind-the-scenes satisfaction of knowing you're ensuring accuracy in these super high-stakes situations.
Nailed it. It's all about precision, detail, that deep respect for how important language is in the legal world. But it's also about flexibility. So many scopists are working remotely these days.
Ooh, working from home in your PJs.
Yeah.
Okay, that's a major perk. But I'm guessing there are some trade-offs. What about the downsides? What do your sources say about the potential challenges of being a scopist?
Yeah, you got to be ready for the less glamorous side, too. The sources were pretty straight up about this isn't a job for everyone. It can be really demanding.
I bet.
I mean, you need intense focus, and you have to be okay with repetition. Remember, we're talking about going over legal jargon, page after page, sometimes under crazy deadlines.
Okay, so maybe not the best fit for people who get bored easily or like totally lose it under pressure.
Yeah.
Sounds like a recipe for burnout if you're not careful.
Mm-hmm.
What did the sources say about work-life balance for scopists? I'm super curious about that.
Definitely something to think about if you're considering this career. On the one hand, that flexibility of being a freelance scopist can be awesome, but on the other hand, setting boundaries and managing your time is key.
Totally.
Especially when you're working from home, the sources stress that a lot being disciplined and organized is so important.
Yeah, it's easy to get sucked in when your office is also your living room. Speaking of getting sucked in, let's shift gears a bit and talk about the actual path to becoming a scopist.
Okay.
Like, where do you even begin?
Well, the good news is there isn't just one way to become a scopist.
That's cool.
It's pretty flexible, which means it's open to people with all kinds of backgrounds. Lots of scopists start with internships or by shadowing more experienced scopists.
Right.
To get a feel for the work and build those essential skills.
So it's like learning the ways of the transcript ninja from the master. I love that visual. Our sources at RoleCatcher also mentioned something that I thought was interesting. They said there isn't one specific degree you need, but that continuous learning is super important. What do they mean by that?
Good question. Think about it. Law is constantly changing. New technologies, new precedents, all that.
Right.
Scopists have to stay updated on all of it. Otherwise, their work won't be accurate or relevant.
Makes sense.
So that might mean taking some continuing education classes, hitting up some industry conferences, maybe even just making time to read legal publications.
It's like leveling up in a video game, except instead of getting new weapons or whatever, you're getting new knowledge about, I don't know, cybersecurity law Or environmental regulations, something like that.
Exactly. And the more experience and knowledge you get, the more you can start to specialize in specific areas of law that really interest you.
That's really cool.
It'll make you a way more attractive candidate for the good jobs too, and open up all kinds of opportunities as you move up.
So you could go from editing general transcripts to, like, specializing in intellectual property law, which, let's be honest, sounds way more interesting.
Plus, it could be way more profitable.
Right.
The sources made it pretty clear that specialized scopists, especially those who know the ropes in complex areas like patent litigation or medical malpractice, are in super high demand.
Okay, that's really good to know for anyone who might be, concerned about the earning potential. But speaking of the future, I think it's time to address the elephant in the room.
What, you mean the algorithm on the computer?
Exactly. How's AI impacting the world of scopists? Because let's be real, that's probably a big question for our listener, too. I mean, it's a big question everyone's asking these days, isn't it? Are robots going to take over the world? And, is transcribing legal documents the first step?
It's funny you should say that. The sources we looked at actually had some pretty interesting takes on the whole AI thing.
Yeah.
On the one hand, imagine if you had these AI tools that could transcribe audio almost perfectly. And not just that, but they could flag any inconsistencies, maybe even potential legal problems, all for the Scopist to look over. That'd be huge for productivity.
Okay, I see what you mean. So less robots stealing our jobs, more like robots becoming our super efficient assistants. I can get behind that. But what about the downsides? Did the sources mention any potential negatives about AI in this field?
Well, there were some concerns that, AI could start automating certain tasks, and that could lead to fewer Scopist jobs overall. But the real question is, are we going to see AI completely replace human Scopists? Or just change what the job looks like?
Right, that's a tough one. It's like, do you try to fight the wave or learn to surf it? You know what I mean?
Totally. And that's why it's more important than ever for Scopists to keep learning and growing. The ones who really thrive in the age of AI, they'll be the ones who embrace these new technologies, who adapt their skills to match. That could mean learning how to use AI-powered editing software. Maybe specializing in those areas where human expertise is still absolutely essential, or even, focusing on the ethics of using AI in legal situations.
So it's not just about being a grammar expert anymore. It's about being tech-savvy, ethically aware, and basically a guardian of language in this digital age. It's kind of a cool way to think about it.
It really is. And it highlights something the sources really emphasized, which is how important human judgment and critical thinking still are in this profession.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because even with the smartest AI, you're still going to have these nuances of language, these little details of context and legal interpretation. That's where humans come in.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, these transcripts, they're dealing with real people's lives. And AI can't replicate that human empathy and understanding that a scopist brings. Like, a robot might catch a typo, but can it tell when a witness's story just doesn't add up?
Exactly. And that's why for anyone out there thinking about this career, the question isn't, will AI make scopists obsolete? It's more like, how can I use AI to make myself even better at this job?
Such a good point. Technology is really just a tool when you get down to it. It's up to us humans to use it the right way, to make sure things are fair and just, especially in the legal system. And on that note, I think we've reached the end of our deep dive into the world of scopists. What a journey.
We definitely covered a lot of ground today, from the nitty-gritty of editing those transcripts all the way to the future of AI and what it means for the job. Hopefully, our listeners have a much better idea now of what a scopist does and what it takes to be successful.
We talked about the skills you need, the challenges, how much you can earn, and all those exciting possibilities that are just waiting to be discovered. So if you're out there and you like the idea of making sure legal documents are accurate and clear, if you've got a passion for language and a knack for detail, hey, maybe being a scopist is your calling.
And as you keep learning more about this, we'll leave you with one final thought. What role do you see yourself playing in the future of law? Especially in a world where technology and human expertise are becoming more and more intertwined every day. Something to think about.
It really is. And don't forget, you can check out the show notes for links to all the cool resources we mentioned today. And as always, we love hearing from you. What surprised you the most about Scopists? Are you excited about AI in this field or a little unsure? Join the conversation on social media and let us know what you think.
And until next time, keep those pencils sharp, those keyboards clicking, and those minds engaged.
And remember, whether you're a grammar whiz, a legal eagle, or just curious about what goes on behind the scenes, there's always something new to discover.